Okay, I think in the interest of time, I would rather get started. I hope you guys had a nice time yesterday and we've been able to provide a recording. For those of you that are joining from the first time, today my name is Kenny and I'm the policy advocacy lead for Policy Shapers. And yesterday we had a quick session on one introduction to the Niger Policy Hackathon, the Babcock University edition. We went on and discussed about what does a policy paper look like, what is its template, and I was able to introduce you guys to the different thematic parts of it from, a brief about the opening part, which is, okay, what's the title, why are you sending it, so your team member's name and the date, right? Then we'll move on to the concept of the executive summary, which if you guys remember, I said should be the last thing that should be written because it's basically just summarizing what you have in the policy memo. Then you have the background and context where, quite frankly, a lot of the work is, where you do a lot of, research to give a background on why do you think that policy or that problem or that concern is really important and why the policymakers should possibly, believe the urgency that you guys are trying to give to it. Then you have the section of recommendations, which is like, in a way, the most important thing you want a policymaker to get from your from like the reason why you're writing the policy memo. And yeah, you have your urgency statement. Now, one thing, whether be it recommendations, be it the background and context, be it your urgency statement, everything hinges on one thing: research. The heart of policy writing itself is research. You can't just start writing things by your intuition or how you feel about it. And today we have no other person. I think it's a privilege. I learned from him a lot. The founder of Policy Shapers. I introduced you all to the team members in the slide I presented, and we have the founder, Ebenezar Wikina, whose vision is the reason why we are here today. I met Ebenezer through our first, competition, trade policies. Obviously, we are both lead ambassadors. Then we participated in the Stanford University Policy Hackathon, the MIT Hackathon. And now, for going to about 5 years now, we started Policy Shapers. And this being the third edition of the Policy Hackathon, and that Policy Hackathon, it's all thanks to Iben's leadership. So it is a big honor, and also that we have him. He's a very busy person, and you will hear directly from Ebenezar Wikina, the founder and team lead for Policy Shapers, coupled with a lot of other accolades. He's a great teacher. Feel free to ask any question. You can drop it in the chat box. And yeah, he's gonna teach on the concept of research and policy writing. And also, I'm sure it's going to give you some hints on how to, like approach this competition. So once this is completed, once this session is completed, we are going to send you the recording of it. But watch out for an email from the team tomorrow, the Political Science University team. The president will give a closing remark, obviously, but they will also send a very important email tomorrow. And that email will detail all the critical next steps as we begin the competition next week. In the email, you are going to have an idea of what are the tracks that we have, the 8 tracks that we have. It's going to give you instruction on how to choose your team members, on the group. When you guys have to start thinking, the email also will have a link to a tip sheet on the tracks. Basically, it's a very clear, detailed email. I would say it can be a little bit lengthy, but it will have all the information you need. And if anything is unclear, just ask any question on the group. And I'm sure the POSA team will definitely reply to you guys to clarify. I'm excited for this. Before I bring Ebenezer on, I want you guys to maybe give a thumbs up, a shout out, a clap in hand while we welcome the founder and team lead of Policy Shapers, Ebenezar Wikina. Over to you, Eben.
Thank you very much.
Eben, can you hear me? Are you there?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kenny. Thanks for the very kind introduction. Kenny and the POSA team actually are the reason that we're here. They've been able to put this together through months and months of planning and work. So just give me a sec. Let me share my screen so that we can get right into the conversation. Okay, so there's a version of this presentation that we did as part of our Policy Saturday classes that was in preparation for the Policy Hackathon in 2023. That was given by 2 policy analysts. You can check that out. That was a very interesting conversation. So I'm giving this like my own paraphrase version of that presentation. We're speaking about research for policy writing. And I think that, first of all, I think I'm inspired to see that the young Nigerians, this call, we have 37 people who care about public policy and want to sort of like learn about what they can do to influence public policy. I think for me, that's inspiring. That's a very good thing. So kudos to you for being here in this space. And I hope that just from being part of this, just as Kenny said, that's how we joined the Policy Hackathon, right? We just thought that, Kenny and I actually had met through the USAID. The USAID had this project called the Youth Lead, and we had done something there as ambassadors in 2019. And when COVID struck, and then there was the Policy Hackathon that the Harvard and MIT and co were organizing, we were like the only team, I think, from Africa or something like that. And we took part in it just to see. I'm sure most of you are here just to see what this is about, right? And that's how we sort of like took part in that. And it was a very interesting experience for us. And that's how Policy Shapers, was eventually founded. So I'm hoping that out of this hackathon will get inspiration to not just found organizations, but also like, have the next generation of leaders. Who says that the next president cannot be from this call, or the next governor, or the next, House of Assembly member, or stuff like that. So that's why we do what we do. We hope that inspires you to see like the practical way you can basically influence policy. So I'll just quickly go to this part on research for policy writing. By the way, if you want to check out stuff about Niger Policy Hackathon, the previous editions, Kenny is saying that the email will come in from the team tomorrow. But before that email comes, you want to see what this hackathon thing has been like, what our own experience had been. We have all of that information on our YouTube. So if you just search @Policy Shapers on YouTube, you find all of that info, as well as information on the Policy Saturday classes. So we've taken some classes. There are different classes on how to develop policy recommendations, mechanics of writing a policy brief. Kenny gave you quite a bit of information on that yesterday. There's also one on learning from our policy hackathon experience too, where the team shared what it was like and the challenges that we faced since it was a virtual hack, and how you can sort of like overcome those kind of challenges. And also like how to carry out policy advocacy. Some of you might know us for the Reform IELTS campaign. which is a campaign that we've led over the past 4 years. We've been advocating for changes to the requirement that has Anglo-African students being asked to write English tests. And we've been able to like lead policy changes in up to 37 universities now around the world. So you have some more information about that as well on our YouTube. So that's just as a resource for you. Okay. So why conduct research to influence policy? Just as Kenny said, those sections of the policy memo which you'll be writing as part of this competition, a key element of your policy memo is going to be the background and context, which speaks a lot about how well you understand the issue, right? Whatever issue it is you're going to work on in whatever track that you'll be working on it in, you need to be able to show that you understand that issue. Every policy has gaps, right? No matter how, even like policies in the US, have also have gaps. Because no matter how well you've given so much thought into a particular thing, there's always one thing, there's always a gap somewhere, there's always something missing, right? And so for you, when you think of research for policy influencing or policy writing, you're thinking of, okay, there are good things to this policy, but where are the challenges with this particular policy? A good example could be the student loan policy, right? At the moment, it does feel like it's a stopgap measure in the sense that it helps people who are not able to pay their school fees. I'm not sure how, if that's thing is open to, I don't think it's open to private universities, right? It's mostly for public universities now. So people who are not able to pay their tuition fees are able to get, some bit of support to be able to pay that. But there are many gaps with that, right? Because like, do they have to pay back that money? Because currently they actually have to pay back. How would they pay it back? The industry, what's the industry's absorptive capacity so far, like for the labor market? So how long does it take for someone averagely to get a job once they leave university? Do we even have data on that? So you already begin to see the gaps with that policy. What's the payback? What's the payback loan repayment data generally for loans? I'm talking like even palm pay. I'm not just talking about like even student loan, because we have like palm pay people going to chase people at ShopRite and stuff like that. So also do Nigerians even pay back loans naturally? So in coming up with that kind of policy, you think of all of those aspects, and already it's on now. And you wonder if the people who are implementing this policy or this program are really thinking of these various gaps. And so as a researcher, as a policy researcher, you're thinking of these gaps and you're thinking of how you think solutions can come up to sort of like block these particular gaps. Another thing you can do research for is to find out implementations, because there's some very beautiful policies in Nigeria, right? Like wonderful ideas, like written down, like a good example with this state of emergency thing in River State, right? One of the things is that for the National Assembly to pass the to like sort of like support the president's call for a state of emergency, there needs to be 2/3, right? But like what we saw was that they just said the yes have it and the no's have it, which there's no mathematics to that. There's no mathematical calculation of the 2/3. We didn't see quorum and stuff like that. So that's implementation. That's a particular policy not being implemented correctly. So if you're going to write a policy around that, or sort of like a policy memo questioning that particular act, that's a gap already. You're like, you know what? This is the thing that was done. The government followed through the process, just missed out on that 2/3 part. They had to have gone through that 2/3 part for that particular state of emergency to be upheld. So those are some of the things you can do research for, to also find gaps. You can also do research to also like sort of like look for evidence to support your particular claim. So if I go back to the student loan policy thing I was talking about earlier, and you're talking about like repayments, right? Loan repayments. Like I said, you do research on like, maybe, I don't know if PalmPay, for example, because I know PalmPay is one of the people who used to give out loans. I don't know what these other loan companies are, but you could find out, okay, do they have a report on loan payments in certain states? Has that report come out? What does the report say? Does it support your claim? Because sometimes we as we have claims and we have biases. And it's important to also know your own bias first before you approach the research topic. So first of all, I mean, know your own thoughts and what you think about this issue, and then see if you can find data that supports you. But in this case where you don't find data that supports you, it means you're wrong. But what we see some people try to do is that they try to like force the data to support, to support their own notion and to say what their data is saying something else and they're saying something else and they're claiming that data supports them, but it doesn't support them. So analytically, in the public policy space, analytically, you need to be able to find data to back up and evidence to back up whatever it is that you're trying to say. So for us, in 2020, when we did the policy hackathon at Harvard, one of the issues we found was that during the COVID break, most schools just like stopped automatically. And the government then at that point announced that, oh, we're going to use like radio, because we didn't even have like internet infrastructure, right? So let's not even kid ourselves and say we're going to do Zoom and stuff. Like which grammar school will do Zoom and those kind of things? Like they don't even have power to charge their devices, right? So so they were like, oh, because of that, we're going to use like radio and TV. And we'll find other ways. For them, that was the only other way that we had to reach people. So we did surveys to find out, did people even like, has any other university student even like learned anything, whether it's through radio or TV and stuff? We had a survey form that was put out there. We had that bias to say, of course they didn't learn, but we needed to have evidence from other people. So like support our claim that actually it didn't happen. So that the way we collected data then was to use a form. And it was Kenny then, right? Kenny was you that like built that form, and we used, and this was within the hackathon period. Behind you, it was like within 24 hours. We created the form, leveraged Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups, and put the form in there to get data from students to be able to support our claim that learning actually didn't happen within that particular period. For most of the students, they were not able to learn within that period, and that's why the government should invest in like digital learning infrastructure for the future. So yeah, so that's why you conduct research, basically to influence policy. And you sort of approach it from like various lens. You first think of how you want to influence the policy. Is it they should continue doing something? Should they stop doing what they're doing and do something else? Should they think of other methods to doing a particular thing? Should they look at like other countries that have done something similar and should also do something as well, just like those countries, or not to do what those countries have done? Again, if I stick to the student loan issue, America is struggling with a huge burden of student loans, like huge issue. American students, most people come out of school and are owing like $70,000 or something, right? And I have to work for so many years to be able to get their student loan stuff paid. Maybe not that expensive as ours in our own climate, right? Because our own tuition currently is not super expensive. But if you look at that kind of context, is there a possibility that with tuition prices rising over and over as the years go on, we'll get a situation where young people in Nigeria might not be able to repay their tuition fees, after a couple of years, and have us like get into the America situation. So we can say, okay, what did America do wrongly? How have they struggled? And how can we learn from that? So like stop us from making the same mistake. So yeah, so like you approach it from different ways. You think about who do you need to influence? What do you need to say that would sway them? So in your policy memo, the tool at the top of the memo is who you're addressing, the policymaker you're addressing the policy brief to. So you're thinking of what does this person think of? What do they care about? What do they usually talk about in their speeches? That gives you a pointer to what they care most about. So you think of how you sort of like draft your memo in a way that makes sense to them and appeals to them, so that when you even tell them to do what they don't want to do, they agree to do it because of how you're saying it, basically. Yeah, and you analyze your data as well. Like I said, analyze your data with integrity, not trying to make data say what you want it to say, but let it say what it's saying, without you sort of putting yourself into that space. Okay. So yes, so let's say with everything I've said now as the preamble, you've broken into teams, selected your tracks, and the hackathon begins. What do you do first? I think first is to determine your research methodology, right? And you can determine that by knowing what kind of data do you even need? Do you want to get primary data or secondary data? Is that data, when you say primary, it means like research that you did by yourself, right? So you think of your issue and say, within a short time, can we conduct our own research with this within 24 hours or 48 hours and be able to reach the information that we need? Or should we just rely, secondary data is relying on what other people have done. So like reputable organizations who might have done research, again, like I mentioned, PalmPay, who have experience in loan repayment, right? They're an authority on this particular issue. So you might want to say, okay, they've done a report or their annual report or something where they mentioned repayment stuff. I want to like take data from that particular space, right? Also, you also want to think about like, are you going to do qualitative or quantitative research? Quantitative, as I mean, quantity as it says, is about numbers, right? So it's like 50% of this, 20% of that. So it's more numerical, and qualitative is non-numerical. It's more like the rate of this and this, the rate of change in this and that, so you're more focused on less quantitative stuff and more like qualitative stuff, the quality of something. So you think about that based on it would differ. So I can't tell you that you have to use this or use that. Based on the policy issue that you're looking at, it will definitely differ. If you're looking at the student loan issue, for example, I hope this is not student loan is not one of your cases, because I'm just talking about student loan all the time. But if you look at student loan issue, for example, it looks to me like a very quantitative issue because of a lot of numbers, right? How much loan repayment, amount of money that young people earn, like average income for like a young graduate school leaver, how much money NYSC pays. So you're looking at a lot of numbers. So you think of quantitative methods a lot more. I want to like use like charts and graphs to sort of like show some of the things that you're thinking of, right? But yeah, for another case, it might just be qualitative. So it depends, and also think about your team, the strength that your team has, and the time as well that your team has to deliver all of this. Yeah, I spoke about research techniques on primary and secondary, but also think about like, are there like some use of I don't know if the team had given you guys guidelines on use of AI, because of course we want this to be the work, like it needs to be your own creative work. So we don't want you to go and say, ChatGPT, write me a policy brief on this and this and that, because that would just be like deceiving ourselves. And of course, there are tools these days where you can just put in policy memos and be able to find out which one is written by AI, written by by a person, right? But for example, you could still also use AI to find data, right? Yeah, these days with Gemini and ChatGPT and stuff, scraping a lot of data across the web. You can ask questions around, issues on the policy area that you're researching, and they can give you data. You can find data for you. It can help you scrape the web a lot more easier than you going through each of the web pages on Google. So I want to think about that as well. Maybe think about focus groups if you have a lot of time. If you guys are able to think really fast on your feet and think of, okay, let's do a quick WhatsApp group focus group, take screenshots as evidence and stuff like that, and say, okay, focus groups basically are sort of like a research method where you bring together people who are affected by a particular issue, and you're asking them questions to hear their response based on what you, so like questions that lead conversation to basically hear their thoughts on a particular thing. So a good example is a project we're working on at Policy Shapers. We're doing a 25-year development vision project for River State. And this is strictly led by young people. And one of the parts of the projects that we're doing the focus group, right? So we have 15 thematic areas: blue economy, youth development, food security, human security, blah, blah, blah. So for each of these thematic areas, we'll bring experts from these areas, right? From across the country, within River State, out of River State, and have other people join as well. Like it's going to be a panel session. And the focus group discussion will basically be the people we've had like 10 to 15 questions. I would ask them, okay, where do you think the state is now? What should this government do to make the state better? What are some key challenges people in this sector face? What should they learn? So just questions about this particular thematic area. And so we're using that to now gather data on that particular issue. So yeah, so with technology, you can use things like WhatsApp groups, Zoom calls, whatever. It doesn't have to be a physical, focus group conversation. It could be something virtual, and you can use that to like gather data as well, right? So those are two things you need to think of, right? Your methodology and also your research technique. Also think about your sources too, because Like, we don't want you quoting, because like there are many fake news platforms lately, right? So like, yeah, biased political platforms out there, right? Whether they're moving to the left or moving to the right. So you want to be able to like quote data from international, and not just international, but reputable, because I mean, it can also be budgets or SERAP or code, like it could be platforms that are reputable because like they've shown integrity over time, right? So yeah, so make sure that you're quoting sources. I mean, if you're quoting news sources, it should be like Premium Times or Punch or Guardian. Like, it should be a reputable platform, not just a platform, not just any platform. Because in research, reputability is a very key factor in corroboration. If you want to say this person said this, it should be someone that is really, really high there. Not that's really respected. It should not just be a random folk. That's how the research world works. I mean, I'm speaking to students, so you guys basically understand this already. So yeah, so look at things like trend reports, research articles, whether it's like from Deloitte or KPMG or stuff like that, depending on what your research team covers. The ministry that you might be writing your memo to, or the government agency, do they have a website? Have they written anything about the issue that you're basically writing about? Quote that thing, so that they know that you even understand the issue, and you're following them. So you want to do stuff like that. So there are online libraries, there's Google Scholar. Like I said, there's AI that can also help you search some academic platforms and stuff like that. So just make sure that you're getting from reputable platforms, and you're just putting like small platforms that no one has any idea of, right? So yeah, so think of starting early as well. Like I said, as Kenny had mentioned, for the various sections, background and context is quite key. Like I said, the executive summary is fine. You can always come back and write that one later, because like it's a short, 50 to 100 tops words of just summarizing what it is your problem is, what your solution is, and all that. But the two key main parts were your background on context and your policy recommendations. Your urgency statement, you can just like say, reaffirm and say, okay, this is why I think you should do this. There is this challenge coming up, there's this issue coming up, there's a problem, let's basically do something. But those are the two parts. You can't just fake it. Like, you have to put in context, like it needs to be really like rich. That's where most of the judging is going to come into when it comes to your policy memo. So make sure you start early. It's a hackathon, right? So as much as possible, let the team sort of like share the work as well, delegate the tasks to the team members. Someone can be handling, for example, you guys are doing focus groups, and someone else does surveys. Or someone can be finding secondary data, that's data that is already out there that's to your particular topic. Someone can be searching information on AI, but I just share things across. Someone else can be thinking about policy recommendations. So based on finding, what should we think, what is on the problem that you're finding, what solutions are, and starts brainstorming a lot more what the recommendations, something else that you should also keep in mind. Yeah, so these are some of the important things on research. With that, they also share these links with you as well. Statistics, this is something around COVID as well that you can have a look at to see what sample research documents look like. Um, I'm also hoping that the email, the team also share a couple of sample policy briefs to see what the briefs are. Any could be about as well. So keep in mind. Okay. So that's is briefing yourself. I think that it makes more sense to
I think we lost Eben. So let's give him some minutes. He's gonna join in, I guess.
Sorry, so sorry, folks. The internet took me out. I hope you could hear me though. I hope you heard most of what I said. I hope I didn't break out.
Yeah, I think we had most of what you said. I think it was just for a few minutes. Yeah, we had.
Okay. But yeah, I'd finished sharing the deck and I was asking for questions. Any questions or thoughts? Anyone needs like any direct feedback on some ideas they might have about their own policy memo, feel free to share it now, or maybe if you think of these things later, you can share it through the post at team to us as well. Yeah. You can. You're muted, Kenny. You can speak.
Yeah, I think you guys can drop any question in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself.
Mommy, is this POS connected to the internet? Is this POS connected?
Esther, can you mute yourself, or can someone mute Esther? Interested. Yeah, so anyone on the call want to ask, and if you don't have any question, maybe your reactions or comments, just to be sure that you guys are following, would be great, in the chat box.
I have a question.
Great, you can go ahead. Yeah. Great.
So how do we select our team members?
Okay, great. So it's a very interesting stuff since we've decided that like your team doesn't have to come from a university. So you're going to get an email tomorrow morning, and you have from Saturday to Tuesday to select your team members. So really, but some of the track includes, security, healthcare. I will start chatting on the group really. Maybe if you have someone maybe with you already in your environment that you think want to participate, maybe around you, in your institution, sure, they can be your team members. Let's say you're interested in security. But in the case where you don't have anyone, you can just type on the group chat, like, oh yeah, you're interested in security, and you guys can form a team. But you need a minimum of 3 persons and maximum of 5 persons. So all this instruction will be clearly spelled out in the email tomorrow. And it's okay if all of you are from the same institution. It's fine if all of you are from diverse institutions also. But you just have to give yourself a team name. So in the email tomorrow, there'll be a Google form where you guys have to fill the name of your team members and register your team members. And that has to be completed on or before Tuesday. So yeah, the simple answer is it's up to you. One, find the area you're interested in the track, find like mind, maybe people around you. They may not even have participated in this boot camp, but it's very important for them to go through this once they registered to be part of your team members. Then more importantly, you can also get from the group. Then just register them, because all the communications we proceed to the team members, people that have teams subsequently. So yeah. Can you send the link to some person? I can say a question that was sent to me privately, but I think the person said, can we send the link of this meeting to some person in a different university? I don't know what you mean about this meeting. Today is the end of this boot camp. But yeah, you can send the recording if they are part of your team members, right? So there's a public recording of it. Based on the resources I shared yesterday also, there's a YouTube channel for policy shapers where they're actually policy Saturdays. So there are different learning. So if the person is part of your team or you're thinking of bringing them on board, that's fine. But it's imperative to note that everyone that is participating in your team must be registered by Tuesday morning. And that will be very clear in the email you will get tomorrow morning. Anyone not registered by Tuesday will not be part of the stuff. Regarding so I also see some privates. Can you get the documents shared? Yeah, we can share the PDF with you, the one from yesterday and today. But also we share the recording. So if you rather have the PDF or the record, that's fine. We'll share all of that with you. That's fine. Yeah. That will be the first thing that will open the email you get tomorrow morning, link to the recording and the PDF of the presentation. I can send that. So you guys are messaging me privately, and it may be a good idea to send public so everyone can see this. I can send that question where how can we get the link to register? So there was a link to register for the hackathon. That's the only reason why you guys are here. However, if you want to share with some of your folks, that's fine. I think the poster team will share it with you guys again. But I would say the most important link is the team link where you make your team members together and you guys register as a team. So the first thing is just to get interest of everyone, see how many people are interested and have this training. But the most important thing is the team link, which I'm going to share tomorrow. So yeah, anyone can register for that, and that is really fine. So you will get clear instructions tomorrow. But as per the main registration, sure, the poster people can share the link and you can share it to every other person. The most important thing, they must be university students. That is, it's a must because it's a university edition, right? So they must be on like 500 to either 500 level, whatever. Yeah. Any other question? Any question for Eben on the research writing, on whatever it is? It was a fantastic presentation and quite very important. Yeah.
I have another question.
Sure, Grace, you can go ahead. You're muted, Grace, if you're saying anything.
Yeah.
Okay,
Go.
thank you. After we're done with the drafting of the policy, are we going to present it or we are just submitting a document?
Oh yeah, I said this yesterday, so I'm glad to repeat it again. So the first stage of the competition is you submit your policy memo. You're going to have 2 days for that, 48 hours. So there'll be an opening ceremony, all of these things, but you're going to have 2 days. There'll be office hours, people you can check in with that can help when the competition is going on. But after 2 days, you're going to submit just the memo. Now, if you want to do a presentation, that may be a good idea, but not everybody will get to present. Only those that qualify to the semifinals will get to present. So we are going to have depending on the number of teams we have, but at the very least, we're going to have 10 people, a minimum of 10 teams get to the quarterfinal. And this is where you guys then present. The top 5 will get to the grand final. So yeah, if you think, yeah, you guys are you just want to save time, because the interesting thing about it is everything will happen within 3 days, even that presentation also. That's why it's an hackathon. So clearly, if you guys have 2 days to submit your policy memo, the team will be notified next morning and they will have to present that evening. So that's the whole gist of an hackathon. It's an intense 3 days, it's an intense one. So for us, what we did, I remember when we participated in Eben, we made a PowerPoint slide, even though we didn't hear back. And eventually we had back and we were not too much in a rush. We started making the slide when we submitted. Okay, what if we had back? So yeah. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Somebody asked, is everyone in the team that will present or just one? So if you make it to presentation, it's up to you guys. You have I think 10 minutes for presentation, 5 minutes, depends. And you guys, one person can present in your team, everybody can present. It's up to you guys. We don't decide it. Yeah. So when we mean a team as three people, I can say a question for category of technology. We don't mean that.
Kenny, 5. Yeah, go on, Kenny.
Okay, great. We don't mean that, this technology for category, there can only be just one team addressing technology. If there are 10 teams are interested in technology track, that's fine. Quite frankly, the competition is just more intense, I'll be honest. And it can be tricky. What we technically do before is to assign, and one of the things we are changing is we don't want to give you guys the track you should get into. We think your interest should kind of determine that, which some of you express in Google form. But yeah, it's okay. If you have 5 people now and all of you are interested in technology, and yeah, sure, the 5 people can be a team. But let's say you have 7 people and all of you are interested in technology, I will just divide them to 4 and 3. The 4th team, because the maximum of the team is 5, right? So 4 people will register as a team under technology and also 3 years under. But both of you have to address different problems. I don't know if that makes sense to you. So there's no cap. We don't think there should be a cap on it. This is also opened up by randomness. All of you won't tilt to one track, and why this is now even would have done it. But I think let's randomness determine it, and hopefully even if it's to one track, I guess we might have to work this out.
My ribbons are black, not green.
Yeah, no, I'm actually happy to see how the interest. Grace, I think you're unmuted if you can hear us. Yeah, I'm happy to see how people also choose to, because that will determine what the interest of students are currently as well. So I think that's also going to be useful data that we can use as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just figure let's people decide themselves and let's see what happens. So we'll see where they are tilting to. And let's say 90% of them shows on that technology. I guess we are running the technology hackathon, which is fine. Yeah. So, yeah. But either ways, yeah, there will be, I think there are 6 tracks in total. We are just finalizing the specific details of the email. We'll share with you guys tomorrow morning. The post out and we share it out, obviously. And feel free to ask any question on the group chat and they will definitely answer you. And yeah, without much ado, I would leave it to the president to give a closing remark. Once again, thank you, Iben, for the clarification. You will see Iben much more often. You can say market to me, are you to choose your team member? Yeah, that's your gist. We find people that like they didn't assign me to Iben. It was Iben that reached out to me, and I think Iben announced on his WhatsApp status that, "Oh, I want to participate in an hackathon. Who is interested?" And I reached out to him, and we made a team. So technically, they didn't. Nobody assigned me to him. So find your people that you can work with. For us, we were very strategic, right? I think we are 5 teams. Some of us have a strength in data analysis. Some can do design. Some can do research. Some is a good writer, and we form a very strong team. These are things I'll put into consideration when you're forming your teams. That will be helpful. Because if all of you are just in the same skill sets, it might be eventually it's all right. You guys can learn, but I think it might be a good bet to have diverse experience. So once how do you do that? Because it sounds hard to do. I don't know what you mean by it sounds hard to do. There are 2 ways I would have approached it. So let's say you're interested in agriculture track and maybe you know some of your school members that want to participate, or maybe they've not registered. Oh yeah, I'm doing this accounting. Are you interested? Agriculture. They might be interested. Fine. You could put on your status. Your sure best is this group chat you're currently on, like this group chat. Mind you, because it's not restricted, your team member are not restricted to be from a university. We wanted to do that, but we figure it's not because we have much population from one university than another. So we figure we should not do that. So we made it open. So you can just go to the group chat here. Hey, I'm in agriculture and we are 2 already. We need 2 more persons or 3 more persons. And people will reach out to you personally, and so the group chat is one way, your WhatsApp status is one. I'm not sure if Eben have any other ideas, but I don't think it's that at tax really. Well, maybe Eben, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think Kenny's ideas are on points. Group chat, people that you already know in your school as well, your university as well. Trust me, I know you already have relationships from your departments that you know who have skills in different areas. So yeah, so just leverage on that. Think broad, start from the group and then think broadly out there as well. And if you're in the group and you don't have a person, you're not in the team, feel free to post there and say, okay, I have skill in this and this and this, and I'm looking for a team in this particular track. Let's use this as a chance to also connect and network across universities. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Eben.
Do you have a question?
Sure.
I wanted to ask that must our team comprise of the people that registered for this hackathon, or we can pick random people?
It's fine, you can go random people. The problem with that is before we would have restricted it, but again, you can register a random person and just like they go through the recordings of so those random people have to do 2 things, and the email will clarify that. So let's say the people you have in your team members have not registered before, they have to register. So the link will be there. Then you still have to register them as a team. So you can pick random people, but because we need their data, right? They still have to register. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Excited about all these interests. It looks like you guys are pumped for it. And look forward to our email tomorrow, and we can't wait to see you next week. As I said, there's a lot to gain: learning, opportunity, networking, finance. You can see the price also is enticing, but I'll tell you beyond the price, an opportunity to engage with policy shapers and POSA even afterwards. I kind of think is the ultimate prize. Yeah. And yeah, look forward to working with you. So I want to post out around this up, and that'll be it. Yeah, the finale is physical. The grand finale is physical. 5 teams will be selected. But there will be an online link for people to join, obviously. I'm sure those that participated would want to see how things are going on. So, yeah, as I said, you guys will get the email tomorrow on how these things will go. And yeah, that'll be it. And you can get it tonight. I just don't want to promise that since it's late already in Nigerian time. But yeah. Okay. Anyone from POSA? I think the president or who wants to give a closing remark? Anyone from POSA, is favored there. If you guys are talking, you are muted.
All right, so good evening,
Oh,
everyone.
Dami, yeah, great.
Good evening, Mr. Kenny. Good evening, Mr. Eben. Good evening to all our beautiful and awesome participants. Thank you guys for joining these Policy Academy Bootcamp. And I cannot wait for us to start the main competition. But first off, I would love to say, let us check our emails. Majority of all these information questions and questions that we are asking, everything is already in the email we sent. Some of you did not even confirm your email for the application you sent to us. You applied for something, you did not check your email to confirm if you've been accepted into the hackathon. So I think we should adjust, because that is one major form of communication till the end of this event. So let's regularly check our emails. Also, like Mr. Kenny and Mr. Eben said, we do not want to restrict anyone to a particular sector, a particular sector. So we are giving everyone the liberty, the will to choose whichever team, whichever sector. Is it the agricultural sector, education, women's rights, child's, we have different sectors like that. So select anyone you're very much interested in and you can express yourself very well in order not to restrict you, and you can flow properly. Also, let's engage on the group chat. This night, everyone will be dropping their LinkedIn handles. We're going to follow each other. Like Mr. Kenny said, it's not just about the cash prize. It's also about interacting with one another. Beyond and after this competition, I want to see you guys somewhere else and say, oh, I know you from somewhere, we did this together and everything like that. This is one way of getting to know people. I mean, we have students from various campuses here. I myself, oh, by the way, apologies. My name is Dami, and I'm the president of Political Science Student Association, Babcock University. I have my team here with me. I have Jessica, I have Favor, I have my vice president, Elizabeth, and my wonderful team members. And I have some students also from my university. Great, Babcock, great. I have some ILD students, from Political Science students. Thank you to everyone. So like I was saying, let us all interact with one another, communicate with one another. Don't be shy, please. Put yourself out there. Let me know who I'm talking to. Let me know the stuff that you're made of. So engage on the group chat. Drop whichever track you would love to belong to on the group chat, and people with like mind would text you, would follow up on that. Also, when you have people that would love to join your track, you can just create a group chat, like a WhatsApp group chat, where you can send information. That is basically where you're going to do all of the assignments and work you're meant to do. That's WhatsApp group chat. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. Whoever is going to be in your team should please register. The same link you used to register, that we used to confirm your acceptance into the hackathon, is the same link those persons will use to register. So we are going to resend the link in the email, like Mr. Kenny said. By tomorrow, we are going to send all information to your email. I urge everyone to please check their email and confirm, and every information you need to get it from your email. And once again, I want to say thank you very much to Policy Shapers Organization. Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Thank you, Mr. Eben. It's not an easy one, and this is our first edition, Babcock University, and we promise to do this again, bigger and better. But thank you, everyone. Good night and get prepared. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dami. Thanks, everyone. Good luck. See you at the hackathon.
See you.
And
Bye-bye.
all the best to your team. Yeah.